Welcome to Between the Rig, a podcast hosted by Pushbox CrossFit. We're all about fitness and bringing you direct opinions wrapped in humor and a touch of, did they really just say that? We aim to help you understand more about coaching, gym ownership, and what it takes to get the most out of your fitness, mindset, and lifestyle, both inside and outside the gym. Let's get into it. All right, welcome back to Between the Rig, a podcast hosted by Pushbox CrossFit. And we love talking about everything fitness. And listeners, if you're listening and not watching, I'm very excited for this because we have all the guests in the house. We have Cali. Say what's up, Cali.
What's up?
We have Sarah.
Hey, hey.
We have special returning guest, a.k.a. the scientist, Cheryl.
Hi.
And my favorite person in the world and the glue that holds the gym together.
Oh, here we go.
Co-owner, my wife, Trysh.
Hey, boo.
Hey, boo.
Sup?
Thanks for all four of you for coming. I know instinctively a lot of talking into microphones and being recorded and thrown out into the world is not maybe all of your fortes, but greatly appreciated. So thank you for being here. I'm excited for all of us to be here. Just to talk fitness. We think fitness is neat. And today we're going to talk about different kind of perspectives and experiences in the fitness world, both as a member, an athlete, coach, and if we, have questions thrown at us by any of you or just time to talk about as owners. And we want to kind of put more of a bias towards all of what I just said through the lens and kind of perspective of a female. I think that's very important to talk about. I've actually want to talk about this for a while and just mainly not me talk about it, but listen about it to kind of get the inside of what it's kind of really like. I don't want to say pros and cons, but I think there's just two sides to every coin. And I think there's different experiences we all experience and probably a lot of things we don't really pay attention to. And by we, I mainly mean gentlemen, probably towards the female perspective and experiences. So I'd love to go over that. But really quickly, just want to kind of go around how long you've been kind of in the fitness realm. You don't need to necessarily start when you did soccer at 4 years old, but fitness meaning more maybe like CrossFit or CrossFit-like style, lifting weights and all that stuff. And then what is your current role and or job title in the space? Just for a little context there. I'm looking at you, Cali.
Yeah, you're looking at me a lot.
Yeah, yeah. But listen, not in a creepy way, like an appropriate amount of eye contact. Mainly because I think you're across from me and I started with you. So Cali, why don't you start?
Perfect. Well, first, you're right. This microphone thing is your thing. So thank you. But first of all, also thank you for opening the space and having us all on to be able to have this conversation. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I've been involved in athletics, I guess, my whole life and have been in CrossFit specifically for probably 6-7 years, maybe.
There you go.
And been with Push for a year and a half.
Can we all agree she also has a great voice for this?
Mm-hmm. So soothing.
Crushing it.
So soothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very relaxed right now.
I think I sound differently in this room.
No, you sound great. The energy's good. It's extremely warm in here because of all the bodies in the room. So I'm very relaxed right now. So thank you. But it's not because of what you're saying. It's just that I'm very zenned out. Yeah. All right, Sarah, let's go to you next.
Oh boy, I can't follow that up. I'll try. I guess I've been inconsistently doing CrossFit since 2012 or 13.
Okay.
Yeah. Dabbled.
About a decade.
Now, yeah, but it doesn't show.
No, that's not.
Okay.
Not allowed.
No. Inconsistently though. So I guess you guys have talked me into being a CrossFitter more than anywhere else I've been. So
there you go.
Now consistently for 7 months. We
won't apologize for that. You're doing great.
Yeah, they talked me into a competition.
Yeah.
Yes.
We can maybe go over that in a little bit if it comes up, but we finally roped you in. Our last one kind of got postponed due to unfortunate circumstance to another teammate. Mm-hmm. But 3 of the 4 of us are here right now. And that's maybe a good segue to Cheryl. Tell us about yourself.
Hello.
The scientist. That's for Austin.
And a past life. Yeah, I got thrown into CrossFit 2018. And yeah, that's where it all took off. That's where all the show muscles started. But I've been an athlete since I was young and did step aerobics with my mom when I was little. And yeah, it was super cute. So
Step aerobics with your
That's a-
mom.
Love
Yeah.
learning that about you right now.
when I was little, I was like, oh, I want to do that, and here I am. So yeah.
Boo.
Hello. Boy, CrossFitting, I don't know, 2017 maybe when we met.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably a little bit before you and I met, and now we co-own this fine establishment that we call Push. So
Indeed.
yeah, that's been the history of my.
I will say this most recent apparel that LJ designed,
Oh.
for some they're dope. Good job.
Fire.
Thank you.
Fire.
Yes, as the youths would say,
Yeah.
it is fire and
Yeah.
it does slap. But I've now gone into places wearing this hoodie that just has a sloth underneath Push, and they're like, "What's that about?" I'm like, "What? You want the short story, or the long story?" Because it
Yeah.
involves a taint swinger, and then they're like, "I regret asking you." I'm like, "Well, I don't know how else to explain this. It won't make any sense why there's a sloth just hanging under the word push." So, all right, so we got a lot of years here amongst all of you. So I kind of like to start from that angle, just maybe through the lens of being a member and an athlete, right? We'll kind of talk about the professional side of it later, but I kind of want to get into, again, I'm still reluctant to find the right words. I don't say pros and cons, but if we are to take the experiences and kind of vibes and all that you've had from high school or collegiate sports, if we played them, to, oh, I got a membership at a local Globo gym, to now your experience in the CrossFit space, I'm going to just guess there's different experiences, both for better and for worse, that maybe lean towards why you would prefer one over the other, or from, I don't know, the oogling that you'd get in like the mirrors at a Globo gym, to your comfort in the space just to be you, slinging a barbell around and go for the chalk bucket. And so I kind of want to start in that arena, if you guys are A-okay with that. So I guess if we're looking at through the comparison of being in the atmosphere of a CrossFit gym versus everything else that is not that, what would you say is like the general, I guess, vibe and kind of security differences, again, for better or for worse, compared to anything else that isn't that? And who wants to start? Callie, I'm still looking at you.
All right,
You're just drawing me in. I don't know. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think just like growing up playing sports, men's sports has always been definitely on a pedestal compared to women's sports, like high school, college. And walking into a CrossFit gym, strong women are also put on that same pedestal that men are put on, which is really cool to see from somebody who loves to be strong. So, yeah, definitely, I think maybe you guys can talk. I don't have the show muscles that everybody else does, but yeah, Cheryl. One day.
But, and I kind of have, we don't need to go in the order that I wrote this in, but that we can even segue into that now as well, or just kind of bookmark it for later. But, you know, you say that, that's what I love about the CrossFit space, or any just performance sport, is that this is not like bodybuilding that you're judged subjectively on the ratios of your hip to, you know, bicep to pec, tri, whatever. It's kind of like, oh, can you do that task? Can you pull yourself over the rig? Can you pick up that barbell? And there's a lot of genetic factors that play in, nutrition and all that. So we all kind of look different, but it's really cool is that if you go to any CrossFit competition, there's different looks, and there's some similarities for sure. But then there's people who are just like, I did not expect that. Holy moly. They just threw down hard.
Yeah.
And that's what's cool about that.
Yeah,
though.
absolutely. And I mean, the coolest thing about CrossFit, being, you know, being put on that same pedestal, I guess, as men in a sport is very cool. And then also just within CrossFit itself, everyone being kind of like good at their own little like niche things, and that's different for everybody. And I think that's why a lot of old ex-athletes probably come into CrossFit to kind of showcase their different strengths and grow their weaknesses. And
do you remember, I would agree. Do you remember your first experience just walking in a gym? Like, did you have any
Totally.
expectation? Were you like, this is terrifying? We're like, this is terrifying. But the second you walked in, you're like, oh my gosh, I feel so great. Or was it the opposite? Or
yeah,
touch on that really
I
quick?
remember my first CrossFit class, the workout was a 2K row for time. And that's it.
No.
It's a real
That's
dick
it.
punch out the gate.
Yeah. And I've never even like been on an erg, you know? And
Like, welcome to CrossFit.
like, my dick. Like, yeah, punch.
Yeah.
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 And
Did it hurt?
Yeah.
It hurts, right? You think us guys are being
Yeah.
wussy about it. It hurts.
yeah, I remember
Yeah.
like
Thanks for relating.
everything in my neck right here was like so sore the next day because I was just like pulling like this. Like, 10 minutes or whatever it took me.
Oh, I love it.
But, like, that was painful, but like, let's go back for round 2 also. And just like the community aspect, like kind of meeting like-minded people and wanting to spend time with those kinds of people who want to push you and be better is just like, that's what kept me coming back.
So besides the kind of nard knocking experience of a 2K row,
Yeah.
did you, again, especially being a guy, it feels so silly to kind of phrase it. So like, as a woman, did you, but like, that's kind of the overlining theme of today's episode. And I kind of want to interject my own self here and say, we're going to take the kind of the gloves off here. We're not going to be pre-apologetic about anything we kind of talk about. I think it's an important topic to talk about.
Yeah.
And not from like just a negative space, but just like all topics and all, I keep using the phrase sides of the coin for positives and negative experiences that all 4 of you have had or currently have or whatever it is. And if that kind of makes you as a listener uncomfortable, I'm probably going to say you're the person who should listen to this. So turn up the fucking volume and
Crank it up.
and buckle up. Yeah, that's a song I just made up. I don't know if you noticed that. But yes, 2K rows are never fun.
Yeah.
But as a woman coming into the space, did you have any like, or just what? What was that experience?
I will say the person who was coaching the class that day was a female. And I think that there being a female who was leading the group that day made me feel more comfortable, honestly.
Does that impact you, or do you think that
it
has
did
an
in the
impact?
moment. I think it did in the moment at the beginning. Now I don't think that it might not, but I don't think I knew that I had any kind of preferences in that way, and I don't think that I still have any kind of preference. But I think in that moment where I was putting myself in a vulnerable situation, it did feel nice to have another female who was kind of coaching me through that.
For sure.
time.
So I'm gonna keep looking at you, but ask Cheryl next.
Yes, please ask anybody else but me.
I'm gonna keep. I guess kind of same kind of general question or comment. Do you remember the first kind of day or weeks
we
or just
really
general
wanna get in?
experiences of?
My
Or,
first experience with
or as
CrossFit?
someone who's done sports in the past, what is maybe not your first experience? We don't talk about that, but just the general comparison that you've noticed from, lifting at a LA Fitness type
Yeah,
place
I
or
mean,
sports or to now.
I don't know about in the past, but I would say now I notice, like, when I go home to small town Ohio, there's like one gym, and it's very much like a Globo gym feel. When I walk in there, it's definitely like eyes like, once I have my tank top on and the muscles are out, people are like, what is that? Like, what is she doing?
What is that? Like,
what's
human.
going on there?
Human I am.
I've had like a couple people come up and be like, what do you do? I don't think it's very common in those spaces to see what I want to say, strong women or built women. I think the look right now, I don't know what it was in the past, is very like long, lean, thin waist, crop top, big booty, let me go over to the cable machines and look at my triceps kind of a thing in a Globo gym. You rarely see, I think, the females going to the squat rack, so I think it's definitely different. I think in those spaces it's definitely what people look like, versus in the CrossFit space it's how do you perform, like how are you increasing your gains? Are you performing better than you did last week or a month ago? Or, it's more focused on, are you completing the workout the best you can? Where in the Globo gym space, it's very much like eyes on you. What do you look like? What are you doing? A lot of judgment, I feel like, in those spaces, for sure.
For sure. T, correct me if I'm wrong, before, because you were at the gym that we met at before I got there for a few months, but not like years of CrossFit specific experience prior to that.
Right.
Did you ever do kind of Globo gym type stuff? I feel like I remember in the stories you did a bunch of different things to kind of see, from kickboxing to things like that. Or have you had an experience kind of, putting in the headphones, going to a Globo gym, repping out curls in the mirror, seeing people like try to catch you looking at them, looking at you, looking at them in the mirror back, and or not?
Not really. I mean, I would say in general, CrossFit is kind of a thing that I have stuck with the longest. I've definitely like dabbled and tried like boxing classes and bar and this and that, but I think once I found this, and I think what honestly kind of kept me going was just how quickly, like especially once you start in the very beginning, like you see like the progression of your, like how quickly your body changes, how quickly you learn things is so like fast and uphill in the beginning. And I think that's like what draws a lot of people in, is kind of like seeing what your body is capable of and doing all these things you've never done before. So no, I never really did like any kind of Globo gym. I remember for like a short stint I did like an LA Fitness in Renton, but it was mostly like some of the classes like
Renton.
Zumba or cycling or something like that. Probably for the same reason like we're talking about, I didn't really feel comfortable just like walking in there and going and doing like any of the machines. Plus I didn't really know anything about them or how to do them. I've never like touched them before, so I maybe just didn't feel like safe and comfortable. But no, I mean, CrossFit was this, kind of my first introduction to all this. And I think kind of like what Cali said, like for that reason is like, for the most part, you just feel comfortable. Like if the gym that you're walking into is doing their job right, like you should feel comfortable walking in there. You should feel like supported and encouraged and whatnot. And so it isn't like this very competitive, like Cheryl was saying, like what are you doing here, what can you do, why do you look like this? It's just kind of like, great, like let's share a squat rack, let's like see what your body's capable of. It's not hopefully very like judgmental at all.
Did you feel comfortable like day one? I mean, you're someone who's not shy to like, oh man, the workout's getting hot, like time to take the shirt off and there's like a crop top or a sports bra, like here's my body anyway, more chalk and just go. Did you always feel comfortable doing that from day one? Or in comfort is something I'm assuming with everyone in every aspect of life, it grows as that relationship with whatever we're doing also grows.
Yeah.
But did you have any hesitation there, or did you feel pretty comfortable at the gate? And like you mentioned earlier, I think is a very valid point, is we're talking broadly, and then there's always going to be the individual experience. Like not every affiliate everywhere, not every coach everywhere, not every members everywhere offer the same kind of vibe. But I know the gym you're at there. Did you feel pretty good out the gate, or have any hesitations as a woman going into the space?
No, not at all. And to be honest, that first gym that I started CrossFit at and that you eventually started coaching at, I mean, they even had, locker rooms with showers and bathrooms and stuff like that. And that was, kind of like, no, I'm not going to say like in a gross way, like the best part, like being in a bathroom with all these different women. But it was like, we're all just like, sitting in a bathroom together, showering and getting ready to go back to work. But more than anything, just talking about like the workout we just did or how awful that felt or stuff like that. But all just kind of like relatable stuff that we can all talk about in like a safe environment.
No. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, okay. So a point I kind of had a kind of question, so I'll just read it out there, and maybe Sarah, you can start, just because we haven't heard directly from you yet. She's like, God.
We'll see what this question is.
Well, I think it's more like
pass.
Oh no, my microphone's down. Do you think there is an appreciation for strength and fitness of women in the CrossFit space more so than outside of it?
Yes, absolutely. I think that people respect your skill, your strength, your effort, even just effort. If you're there and really trying to get better every day, I think in the CrossFit world that is respected, and by both male and female in the gym. And I think somebody said the other day about it's really cool that we're there taking up space, like in the same room as each other. Whereas like in an LA Fitness, it's impossible to get a squat rack. I don't know. There's just like a prejudgment of like, oh, what are you really gonna do there? Like,
is there a vibe of like just a dude that's like, oh, do you need help at the squat rack?
Oh,
like,
my
I'm aware how the
gosh.
J hooks work. Thank you very much, you
Yes.
fucking dick.
Yes. Yeah.
As you're squatting just as much and deeper.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like
yeah. So definitely those experiences in LA Fitness in particular, actually, when we go home, we'll go work out, wherever we can get into. Sometimes being LA Fitness, and yeah, impossible to get squat racks. People are like on you and trying to get in on your squat rack when you're actually like in the middle of a set, or you'll never get a spot in front of the mirror because everybody else is checking themselves out. So it's just like a really weird kind of culture in there. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just
Go, Cali.
in terms of females being respected in CrossFit, let's think back to like 2003 when all those girls' workouts came out.
Yeah.
Like, those were named after females because of the badassery that was shown.
Yeah.
And they had workouts named after them.
Yeah.
There's no, like,
Bob.
Adam. Like,
There's like certain hero work. Yeah. It's like, all right, guys, we're going to do Fran, 5-minute rest, and then Bob.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of, like, the hero wads, I guess, technically, like,
But from the traditional.
but like the ones that Glassman named, like, they're all named after, like, dope female athletes for a reason.
Yeah.
Which I think is CrossFit, like, paying its respects to where it's due.
Yeah, just from a spectator, whenever the games are on, I can relate from a quick in my head number comparison, like, oh, like Chandler Smith deadlifts this is where I'm at, and we're both the guy. Okay, cool. Like, wow, that's impressive. But I just enjoy watching the female side of CrossFit more. And I don't know if I have a really good way to articulate why. Not in any sense of like, oh, good for them. Like, no. I'm like, oh. It's in fact because I know, like, okay, if my max deadlift lifetime was like 515 and Chandler Smith at the Rogue Invitational just did like 6 something because he, like, I don't know, felt like it even though he already won. I'm like, okay, that's crazy. And then when was it Alex
Kazan?
What?
Alex Kazan?
Yes, thank you. Pulls like absurd, like 4 something. I'm like, dear Lord.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm having an off day, she's pulling more than me. I'm like, that is so cool. Like, now I can take the same type of comparison, and that's even more mind-boggling, and it's so cool. And everyone's like cheering and like putting up their like the face-only signs in the stands. It's not like, oh, that's cute. It's like, that's what I'm talking about, and it seems completely just like appreciated and celebrated, and I think that's awesome. And as someone who, sorry, babe, dated someone in the previous bodybuilding world. Just so you know, it didn't end well. It was.
I was there to pick up the pieces.
You saved me, and I appreciate that forever. Yeah, we just celebrated our wedding anniversary this past Thursday. 4 years.
Hey, now that's not what this is about.
Cute.
No, but I love and I love you. So there we go.
Any chance you can get.
Any chance I can, just talk about our love on a recorded podcast that you're gonna hate later. And it was always the experience. You go in there, and like she even intentionally dressed a certain way, and it was attention, and it was like in the mirrors, and it was just like it was always like situations and confrontations at these gyms. I'm like, this is so. I don't like this.
It's not the vibe.
As a guy, then there's like, oh, dude, the dudes in those gyms checking out other dudes. It's like, how many wheels you got? I'm like, first of all, stop calling them that. Just stop. Just stop being there right now.
Somebody asked me that the other day, honestly, they're like, ready for wheel yet? And I was like, what?
Yeah.
A what?
Just say 45.
Not familiar with that term. No.
Right. But then my counter question to them, just to fuck with them, is like, well, what do you call 55? So like, what? I'm like, that's right. You don't do Olympic lifting. Anyway. And then like I move on. All right. Well, let's kind of, we can always just jump in and out. But let's kind of pivot now to maybe more, I don't want to say a serious topic, but from the professional side of things as a coach. Because I think this could have a lot of similarities, but also very stark differences. Because there's the general, what is it like being a coach in this space, and speaking with authority and leading groups of people, regardless of man or woman, and then there are what are the issues, but also strengths that play into the favor as being a female coach. Because I would imagine, like any individual can run into pros and cons and good experiences, bad experiences. But I also, if I mentioned this or not, I reached out to some people that I trust and I love their opinion, who used to be or still are in the world, and even some were used to be but now in a different profession like chiropractic, and just deal with different comparisons of what is it like from their memory or current experience as a coach and then what they witness, any similarities or differences as what they had as a female coach in CrossFit, and now being a female in a different profession, are the same issues, or is it maybe one or two that seem to be more specifically towards coaching than like chiropractic or a lawyer or something like that? So I kind of want to now go through the perspectives and experiences as being a coach as a female in the space. So one of the questions, because I asked for kind of help. I imagine as a guy, I was not going to nail every, I don't know, topic that I feel like should be talked about, because I'm probably very ignorant to a lot and have my blinders on. So I reached out to help. And one of them was kind of, it's in general, it's hard to lead and coach a group of people, period, because it's like herding cats. I've always said, you have different personalities, you have different just people in general. What are some of the easier and harder aspects of doing so as a female in the space?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, like if we were to stand next to each other in a room and we have the same athletic ability, the same knowledge, same level of experience and years of experience, I think in any career or environment, the male is automatically going to have more authority. That's just kind of how it goes. So I think as a female coach, or, I mean, it could be in, like I was telling you, in the science world, it was definitely the same. Like, you have to grind, you have to prove yourself even harder than men do, unfortunately. I think that's just still how it is culturally in this country. But yeah, I would say men are automatically going to have more authority. So if I say the same thing that you say to someone, they're probably going to listen to you first. I think it takes longer for people to trust me, to listen to me, to be like, oh, she knows what she's talking about. Just takes a little extra work. They come around though. I feel like most people do. But yeah, I would say when you're in a room full of different generations, different, men, women, young, old, they all have their prejudgments or, different views on how they see a female in charge, I guess I would say.
Yeah.
But I would say, like, for me, I'm very quiet. And I think that sometimes that's mistaken for weak.
Sure.
Or easily push over. I'm very nice, which sometimes people think they can push my buttons a little harder because then they think it's funny. And the minute I turn on the authority button, it's like, well, look out, Cheryl's in a mood, So
But that's fun to hear.
Oh yeah.
Hey guys, recommendation: like, don't be like, "Are you feeling okay?" Like someone's moody. Like that
Yeah.
usually doesn't go well.
Yeah. So I think
Historically
trying
speaking.
to earn people's respect sometimes, not everyone, I'm not saying everyone. There are certain people that it's like, it just takes extra, or they're never going to respect me because I am a small, quiet female. I'm not saying everyone, but I've had instances where I'm like, there's no winning that battle. Like, they've already made a judgment because of how I look and how I talk. They think it's funny to not listen to me when I'm like, it's really only, to your detriment. You're not listening to my coaching or, taking my knowledge on to make you a better athlete. So, yeah, I think there's always a battle being a female in this industry or in other industries as well. I think I was telling you at F45, I was expected to be a woo girl. Like, they didn't care what I knew. They don't care that I have all this knowledge. I can fix your form. I can make you a better athlete. Well, you're not dancing enough and you're not, woohooing enough. So then I'm not a good coach. So I would say CrossFit has the benefit of not having that expectation. Like, I can definitely be me and be authoritative in a way that is appreciated and share my knowledge and be respected, there's always just going to be a few egos and a few preconceived notions, for sure. But I would say in the CrossFit space, the pro is you can be who you are as a coach. What matters is your knowledge. You're there to help people. Like, we all have the same goal as coaches, where in other spaces I think they want you to be a persona. They want you to bop around, and that's really not benefiting anyone, in my opinion. So
Now I'm curious. When was the last time you wooed?
I don't. Your girl does not woo.
I know. I'd like to see Cheryl woo.
Not a wooer.
Oh my
I am
God.
not a woo girl.
We were at the hotel bar last night, and there was a little live band setting up, and the singer just hit one note, and there was, I don't know, 9 deep woo right behind us. I was like, oh, it's time for us to get the check right now. It is. It's so loud.
Yeah, sorry. I'm not a woo girl.
Yeah, do not apologize for that. So
But I would say the advantage I would have as a female, and I'm not saying men aren't this way, but I think being soft, being kind are good things. I'm very empathetic, probably too much to a point sometimes. But I can understand where anyone is in their life, if they're having a bad day, if they don't feel comfortable training. You know, I've had clients that are very uncomfortable being in the gym, and I'm very patient and very understanding, and where I don't think, no offense, Hayden, but I don't think all men have that sort of patience and understanding of others or people who are in a certain, level of fitness or very sensitive.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Shut up and do more push-ups.
I think it's an advantage to, have those soft qualities sometimes. Yeah.
Well, I'll kind of swivel that over just because you mentioned you did initially your first class, and I'm speaking to Cali here if you're listening and not watching. You said you did seem to kind of remember appreciating for the first time that there was a female coach.
Yes.
Is that because of a certain relatability or hoping there? Because one of the comments I got back from one of my anonymous people was exactly what you said, but that can also sometimes, I thought it was a very interesting perspective. She said the maybe other side of that is that now we, meaning I think she meant like women, are supposed to maybe, I don't know, someone's trying to talk longer during their rest to not get back to work, or use these I don't say excuses, we all have real life going on, but reasons why maybe they're not working as hard, that you're supposed to be more sympathetic and empathetic. You're not going to push them harder. They're like, oh, but you just get me, right? And you're a nice woman. It's like, hold on. Well, yes, I am, but we're also here to do work. Right. So there's
a balance.
There's that balance. So do you have any comments on that? And again, I agree. There needs to be more than just the one type of person. I don't think aggressive, overly joking, bald, bearded, intense guy is for everyone. Right?
Are you talking about yourself?
I don't know. I think I'm a hard shell with a soft inner side, but I admit sometimes I'm probably like, oh, everyone has life. Get back to work. I'm like, sorry about your grandpa, or whatever it is. I get so sucked into that. I'm like, you're here for a reason, and I actually am I have feelings, but I admit I'm very much like, hey, let's get to work. We're here to get better. Resilience will only help build your character. But sometimes people just they need to be pushed, but also they need a hug. Mm-hmm. And that can come from anyone though. And do you feel like there's an expectation should come more from you being a woman?
I think I don't know. I don't know that I'm necessarily the soft person that's gonna have that downtime and soft conversation with you during rest, but I am more of we're all homies kind of vibe, and I think sometimes maybe when I'm leading a class I'm still everybody's homie, kind of that energy is hard to kind of break through sometimes when I'm trying to, like you said, herd cats. But I do think that what you just said, the way that you are is, we all have work to do. We're here for a reason, and that's the culture you've created within Push, you and Trysh, and have been that's why I love every day at Push, because if that's the culture you've created, no one's coming in complaining all the time. I mean, there's some complaining, but it's not. It's so much less. Like you've created a standard that, you know, and I think that's the mindset that athletes mostly come in with, is that they're there to work hard. And yes, are there people that come up to me and say things that I know for damn sure they wouldn't go up to you and say? Like, yeah, for sure.
Okay, like, silly follow-up question, but like, how does that make you feel? I'm sure that's annoying as fuck.
It's annoying because, I mean, for one, like, as far as I know, there's nobody, like, holding a gun to your head forcing you to come in here and do this. You came in on your own accord to get better and to do fitness and to work hard. And so did all other people in the room. And when you're coming in with a bad attitude, like, one, it just leaks out and seeps into everybody else's energy.
We don't want your seepage.
Yeah, keep that seepage to yourself, you know?
Oh, I love it.
And
way to play right into that. Thank you.
yeah, you know, like, I think it just goes along with the energy that you try to create in a class, and like that can be what you're doing kind of as an athlete too, coming into a class. Like, you know, I can't stand when somebody else is talking loudly over the coach that's trying to lead the class. Like, I hate that, just like from an athlete perspective. And I love how there are some people in class who will be like, shh, shh, and like hush those people because they can't stand it either.
I think it's fair game.
Yeah.
I appreciate the people that shush, because I, as like we were saying, it's hard for us to kind of like reprimand people and kind of like demand the respect. I don't know. As a woman, it's a fine line.
Do you mean us as coaches or us as women? I'm probably
I think
overthinking
us
all this
as
now,
women
but no,
more
I just
so.
want to
No,
make sure.
because
Okay.
I think you're really good, Aiden. You're really good at like calling people out, but
I don't know if that's
I
a
feel
good
like
skill,
it
but thank
comes
you.
off differently from me, and it's like, oh, like Cheryl was saying, like, oh, what kind of mood are you in? Like, so if people are talking, I just try to talk over them, and it's just very irritating. But like, because I just can't figure out the way to say it without coming off like a bitch, or, you know, and
So you've
I
never said,
worry
hey,
about
fuckhead,
that.
be quiet? No.
Maybe I will next
Hey,
time
fuckhead,
if that's
shut
what you
the fuck
recommend.
up. Like,
Yeah.
what do you
Yeah,
suggest?
yeah. What do you suggest?
I mean, I've sometimes swung too far at the end of the spectrum. I once stopped a morning class, and I think, maybe not verbatim because it was forever ago, but the general message was, hey, y'all average age is a little too old and you're a little too banged up to not take this warm-up serious. Knock it off. We're starting over. You have each other's phone numbers. Go text outside of it. Yeah, and it was awkward for a second.
Yeah.
It was like, turn the volume down and fart real loud and be like, did y'all hear that? But it's, well, I want to get back to you because you're, I think, making a really good point here, but I think you mentioned something and you're also mentioning it, but where's that line between those people, or probably just those people, period? Like, I don't know if you guys knew this, but there's a lot of just douchebags in the world. And I think they'll always be that type. Like, if you can't hear audible other noise going on as you're 4 minutes late to class, talking in the corner, you're like, what's that noise? I'm like, oh, you mean the coach leading the group that you signed up for to come in to work on the thing that you most definitely need to work on? And you're not? Like, I should probably be quiet. Then, like, I don't know in general, male or female, like, can you help that besides kind of call them out appropriately? Like, I'm not here to be mean. When I do it, I don't know. I try to vary it. I know I wobble this line of, like, humorous directness, because I don't actually want to, like, hurt your feelings. But once I feel like you're being just rude as a human, then it's fair game.
But like, maybe in some ways you can learn life lessons in a gym, but in other ways, like, are we here to give people life lessons on how to be like respectful in a public situation?
Like, no, dog, you have a Roth IRA and you don't know when to, like, show respect and, like, shut up.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean, I truly believe the people that are walking into the gym and are talking over you and literally arguing with me about what the workout is that's written down, like,
Yeah.
are the people that go through their life like that.
Yeah.
And it's not just me, they're probably the person they're in a relationship with, people they work with, and try not to take it personal and just know that that's how that person is. But we
Yeah.
can do better.
But I do have a question, Cali, because I personally don't coach, so I don't know, and much love and respect to all you guys, but you have mentioned that, like, a lot of things that you feel all three of you feel like happened to you as women coaches, like, oh, they would never say this to Aiden, or they would never act this way in one of Aiden's classes. So like, when those things do happen, like, how do you react? And like, I don't know, like, how do you solve the situation? Because these are, you know, like, I think that's the whole point of this podcast, is that we're trying to not necessarily call out these people, but like, these are some of the hardships as women coaches. And how can we kind of like put this all out in the air for the people that are listening, but also like make them realize that like, this is not okay. Like, if you wouldn't be doing this when Aiden is coaching, then why are you doing it when Sarah or Cali or Cheryl are coaching? And yeah, this may just be like your personality, and you know, like you like to like argue and push back in life, but like, why do you think that's okay to do to you while you're coaching?
Yeah, I mean,
Do you think
great
it's
question. Writers, write in, let us know.
Hello?
No.
Do you think it's conscious?
Do you want to call it now?
I don't know. I think that like you obviously have like earned it in the gym. You're owner, like head coach. You have all these years of experience. You've earned it. But in some ways, it's like, does respect have to be earned, or like, do you just give people respect because you're a nice person? Like,
But do you think that respect that you think I have is because like, oh, he's 15 years, I should automatically, because I know a lot of I've been doing this for a very long time, which means I also know people who I also met day one who are still doing it that have more or less. And it's like tenure just isn't just automatic thing. That just means like you're still doing this thing. That doesn't mean you're any better, or you're self-educating, or you're trying to like hone in your skills. Like, is it just like, oh, owner? Because I didn't own the last gym, and I like to hope I had a very similar. I mean, I don't know if you'll know this. I'm pretty much like this always, even with Luna. You know, like, this is just, I think it's important to always just be you, not like chameleon and mold to the circumstance. But is it just like, oh, I should talk to Trysh and Aiden this way because they own it? I mean, like, there's a lot of owners out there who are not good, or shouldn't have that same respect. Because I think that, you know, it's a relationship. It's a mutual thing. Yeah, I mean, so just because I feel like Sarah got interrupted there, if you... So Cali just mentioned some people are just like that, period. When can you tell the difference, if you can at all, if there is, between, oh, that's just them, they probably would have been like that with Josh or Robert or myself or Cheryl or Cali. They're just them. Or is it seem like, where's that difference between like you're perceiving it this way and you happen to be a female coach, or you can tell like, this is definitely because I'm a female coach? Because that's also probably hard, I would imagine. Like, we all look at a piece of art and it's subjectively different, but it is the same thing. Like, that person is probably going to behave the same way, yet everyone as a coach perceives it differently. Like, oh, that's just, let's just keep using the word Bob. That's just Bob being Bob, or like Jill being Jill. And when is it like, I've actually seen you not do that in the same circumstance with this other coach, but now you're doing it with me. Interesting.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it's easy to tell, being that like we all take classes, and so I've taken a lot of your classes with all of the members pretty much in the gym. So I've seen different interactions with you versus the females coaching in the room. So it's, I feel like I can tell when it's directly because I'm a woman. I mean, I don't think it happens as often as kind of, it's just far and few between that it actually does happen. But when it does, it's kind of a little more surprising, especially when it's like from another female. It's always like, oh, whoa, I thought we were on the same team. Like,
that's a unique perspective, because I think a lot of times we're kind of playfully talking about like how like men will perceive, but yeah, what is that like from, I think, female to female? I mean, you're already talking, then let's just keep going with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just stings a little more, because you just feel like, I mean, we're in this space, we're trying to get better, we're trying to be stronger, like better versions of ourselves. Like, we should be in this together. And I think sometimes it's just maybe people don't always like give each other a chance, like get to know people for who they are, and like prejudge a lot, like we were talking about before. And like I said, it's pretty far and few between, but it does sting a little more when it's from another woman.
Because I think we've all been in that situation, that someone kind of makes what they deem as a joke, and you know, the whole phrase like every joke has a little bit of truth behind it, is and just as a coach, someone will say something publicly, and there's then like, ooh, like 18 eyes are on you, and I'm like, well, I feel like you're calling me out, which means now we both stepped into the ring, and I'm gonna respond back, and I know like I do very quickly, mainly just out of principle. I'm like, why are you doing this right now? Like, where's this gonna go? Like, we're in a public class, we're human beings, we care and respect each other. Like, couldn't you rephrase that a little bit different? But since you didn't, batter up. Like, how do you handle that when that kind of happens? Because I feel like often I've spoken to Austin before coming in here, and Austin's a very close friend of ours at our wedding. Her husband DJ at our wedding, love her to death. I trained with her. She's in a different profession, but in the kind of sports medicine world, and she is hysterical, not soft spoken, and I love it way, but I feel like there's way more of this like, well, Cheryl, you're too quiet. You must be like weak and inferior. It's like, no, you're too loud. Well, now you're kind of a crude. It's like, oh, you stood up for yourself. Well, now you're a bitch. It's like, well, where do you want me to be? What is that like daily like WTF? Just feelings on that, and like, because you, Sarah, I feel like naturally like, hey, like, welcome to the gym, and are you now expected to be a woo girl just because you seem like, oh, I did cheerleading in high school and I smile more, and like, what are these like different pressures and molds? Because like everyone is their own version. I think the best version we can be is the most comfortable version, and then the authenticity will come through a little more naturally. Like, I think if someone says, hey, fuckhead, like me, and it's not naturally you, it's probably gonna be like, did they just curse at me? I'm gonna write this up. I'm not saying I should get away with it, but I think people know it's like more of a ha-ha and like just who I am, and I don't need it much. So like, what is that like? Well, like, where is this like pressure to constantly be this like perfect air quote version of like not too bitchy but not too quiet? Like that, I'm guessing is fucking annoying.
Yeah, I think that is a reality that exists inside the gym as a coach, but also just in all aspects of life.
Do you feel it less being in a CrossFit space? Or is that relative to just who your members are and who your staff is and who your owners are to create a culture? Like, I'm sure it's also relative, but...
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah, something about a CrossFit gym that just, like, it's all just... Yeah, sure, we all have different parts, but, like, we're all throwing down and doing the same workout and, like, getting sweaty and having a dope time together.
All parts are sweaty.
Mm-hmm.
All midline parts are sweaty. The fun zone is, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of equalizes you, like, I think, yeah.
Good way to put it.
Yeah, that's, again, kind of one of the pros of CrossFit gyms is that, like, even when we partner up or we do, like, competitions or whatever, it can be whatever group of people, like male, female, male, groups and stuff like that. But yeah, ultimately you're just expected to do the same amount of work. So like, what's the difference?
Yeah. So what do you think because this isn't like a negative rant fest. I think this is just eye-opening, real conversation. But I know I am not everyone's cup of tea. And we are trying to get everyone to feel happy and safe and have a good time in the ecosystem of fitness, especially like biased CrossFit. And so I can't be there all the time. I don't want to be there all the time, which is why we have a fucking dope team. And I think you need different personalities and different everything. So I think we kind of are making it sound like, oh, here are the negatives of being a female coach. But like, no, because I'm going to have negatives about being me and being so direct about like, hey, get back to work. You know what I mean? Like, we'll talk about it later. So what are like the strengths you feel like in general you as women have, and especially compared to guys, that we may lack? And not we do.
First of all, having a vagina is way better than
Oh, gross. I do not want that dangling between my legs all day.
You the other night were like, is it just weird to have this between your legs? I'm like, well, I mean.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah. She's like, what's happening there? I'm like, I don't know, bacon and eggs, just hanging out. And she's like, is it weird? They're just like out. I'm like, I can't put them in. Like, this isn't,
Don't know what it's like to have them in, I guess, for you, right? Like, it's just, you've always known that way.
That's just what it is.
Yeah,
it's always there. Just hanging out. But appropriately, not like cancel worthy.
Yeah,
it's not like
totally.
out. Like right now, it is in.
Yes.
While being out. Yeah.
You know what would be a fun game?
I love how this segue to a game. Yes, Cali, what is this fun game that you're now thinking of?
It has nothing to do with what we're talking about and everything to do with someone. Okay. Like, I wonder how many times you've mentioned your bacon and eggs in all episodes of the podcast. I bet we could do a running total. It'd probably be like
Me
20
specifically,
and up. Yeah.
or just it gets brought up because I know that Adam brought up the Tenacious D reference, and in fact, Josh and I were both looking at each other as he continued to talk, and we're like, "Are you?" We both had the look of like, "Oh, you also don't know what he's talking about." Phew. But it was about dick push-ups.
Yeah.
Um,
Dicks get brought up a lot in this gym.
dicks too? I feel like butt stuff gets brought up a lot in our gym.
Butts, taints,
Yeah,
dicks.
just the undercarriage.
Anyways, back to the
Yeah.
conversation.
Anyway, Cali, way to make it weird. No,
Yeah, definitely the least censored gym I've been at. I
the most
must say.
uncensored.
Yes. Yes.
Is this?
For sure.
That's what we're going
Yeah.
Nailed it.
for. Did that make you uncomfortable when you first came over? I
You
think.
adapt quickly.
Okay, so I don't know. This kind of can segue to a general topic, and we've talked. I think probably all of us at some point, but I think you and I just recently kind of did that. Where is that line between? I feel like we kind of are in an era of like oversensitivity to things, and then there's actual things that are like, hey, that was too far. Like, yes, that is a real thing, and that is just someone who's just waiting with like a notebook and pen to like catch someone off guard and like cancel them or something. You know, like
Yeah.
I think we and I or whatever just like this because it's just, for at least me, like it's naturally who I am. And Trish and I mesh well because she's also someone who's just like spontaneously, hey, what's that like to have between your legs? Like that's just kind of who we are, and it feels really good to feel comfortable in your own skin. And I think we're trying to create a vibe. So I think when we're like that, it's not because we're trying to be crude or trying to be funny. It's just more like, hey, you can be you. If we're saying taint swinger, barring that you're not going to say anything that completely segregates a type of person or something to make them feel like hated on or unwelcome, like you can be you. And I think,
Yeah, love that.
and the whole culture, I think, when you said earlier, is just like, it's not about being a hard ass or being alpha. It's just like, we don't need assholes here. And I am very fine with confrontation because I think confrontation gets a negative or connotation as well. It's like, no, I'm not here to fight. I'm just here to address an issue. Like you could argue we're being confrontational about this topic. We're just addressing it. Now, certain things can be more of a fight, but I'm like, if you're going to come in here with like just rude alpha energy, I'll be quick to put you in your place, regardless of like age, tenure, size of muscles, because it was like, we just don't have a tolerance for that here because we're just trying to do some fun stuff. Like, I think my elevator pitch always to new people is like, oh, 3, 2, 1, go. Like, you get ready to work harder than you're probably ever going to push yourself. And other than that, I hope you like tacos and dogs and laughing and social things and probably talking about butts. And I think the people we have now are like, okay, I get it. I feel welcome. And if they don't, then it's like, you know, we almost choose each other. And that's why I think the group is so naturally awesome.
I think there is a balance to that, though. Like, if you had, I'm not saying this in a bad way, but if you had 5 Aidens all coaching
Oh, dear Lord.
every class, like
have 7
there were no
members.
Sarahs or there were no Callies or there were no me's, it might get overwhelming for some people to constantly have that energy. I'm not saying it's a bad energy, but I think it's good to balance it out with a little more. You have a Sarah who's a little more gentle, especially when you're getting new people into the gym, like, and they're like, did that guy just say that? Is that okay?
Most
And
likely,
she's
yes.
like, yes, you know. So I think it's good to, I'm not saying all females have a little bit more of that understanding, but I do think, like, out of this crew, there is a little bit more sensitivity sometimes than, like, Josh might have, or, like, Josh's big personality, right? So I
Big
think,
tree.
yeah. So I think if you were a certain type of person walking into the gym and got like Josh energy every day, you might get a little overwhelmed at first until you figure out the culture and then you get used to it. So I do think it's good to have that balance of female male energy because they are different. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. I mean,
Not in a bad way. All the
Yeah.
energies are good.
I'm shaking my head
yeah,
like, yes,
yeah,
yes.
but I mean, it's important to have that because everyone is different who also comes in.
Correct.
And so,
That's- yeah.
I mean, I remember a few people when you were at Push and we had personal training inquiries that you could tell were a little more maybe hesitant or actually requested a female trainer if there was any, or maybe just because of our scheduling, it didn't work out. It worked better for you to take them. And it was probably good in hindsight. But then where is that line between like, okay, like, yes, I'm here to like make you feel okay, but like we do need to get to work and I'm
Yeah,
sorry you had a rough day, but like you're paying money and I do want you to actually progress and have that needle move, like line in the sand.
Yeah.
And you find that more difficult to now like kind of put that line in the sand after maybe a few sessions or classes of like, hi, welcome. Now it's like, okay, you're misunderstanding this kindness for weakness. I need you to like, get under the rig when I say let's go, because this is what you're here for in the grand scheme.
I don't think I've had any issues with that, of moving people forward, minus personal training clients. To not talk too much, but but you know, in terms of people walking into the gym and starting, they start slow, but then I think once you're there for a certain amount of time, it's just natural to evolve with the community. Like the whole community is going to push you to that next level because everyone else is working hard and you see that. So
I think that's the
if you walk into another, you know, kind of franchise where everyone's just kind of doing bare minimum, you're going to do bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's kind of who you're around. So I think that's also a pro of a CrossFit gym, is if you're in the right one, is, you know, you're getting that community of like-minded people for sure.
That's the best part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when you're right, someone else said that, and you just brought up earlier, Sarah, is like everyone's taking up the same space because it's performance based. I mean, there are certain guys who feel comfortable taking their shirts off and certain guys who don't, and certain women who do and don't. But it's like, I am also going to the chalk bucket. I'm also operating on the same clock you put for everyone. And that's what I do love about the space. I think there's always unfortunately going to be some of that just male female bullshit, but there seems to be, what I observe and talk to y'all about, less, even though it's still there.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully at least all of us being in the professional side of it, we hope if you're listening as a member and athlete, like you're feeling safe and awesome and comfortable there. One kind of topic, and it's hard because we kind of got the 5-minute, you know, countdown here, is I did have, just because the sport of CrossFit, I think performance in general, but we'll stay on the biased topic of CrossFit, welcomes all body types, because it's just like, can you do that? Are you willing to work hard? Can you jump over that bar? Like, I don't really care what you dress like and how you look, just don't complain and work hard and be an awesome member of this grander, bigger community. But I kind of wrote down the topic, how you are perceived body image wise as a general human in the world, and as someone who works out, and as someone who leads a group in a community that stresses health, fitness, and wellness. And is there any difference you notice comment wise, kind of, I don't know, intentional like compliments or questions to these little, like, I don't know, offhanded, like, I'm just being funny. You're like, that was a weird thing to say. Do you notice more or less of that in the CrossFit space compared to like sometimes when you go to like, you two sometimes go to like Scottsdale to get a little beach time?
Oh boy.
You know, or the grocery store or coffee. Yeah. What is this kind of, I don't know, is pressure the right word, or like just different kind of experiences you'll have had from outside commentary or looks or observation? Is it more positive inside the four walls of CrossFit than outside, or not, or the same?
I mean, if you're referring to the Scottsdale comment,
specifically, or anything like that.
Cheryl and I chase the sun a lot, and so we like to go on like long weekend vacations just to like tan and stuff. Basically, we're just horizontal the whole time on separate beds. Hello. But for now, I mean, for budget reasons, we can always share. But anyway, I do think that, yes, outside of the gym, especially for women who are, you know, more muscular and stuff like that, it's like we'll be in Scottsdale or Mexico or wherever, and there'll definitely be a lot of like, oh my God, like, why does she look like that? Or like, you know, guys or even women actually walk by and be like, oh, you know, like you need some protein, like that's kind of like really annoying. But I think honestly, in a way, like that's people's way of like not knowing how to broach the subject, and like they probably are just like a, you know, like jealous, or, you know, like you know, want to know how we got to where we are kind of thing. But I think that within the gym walls, you don't get any of that. It's like people, you know, are supportive of you. They, you know, obviously that you've worked really hard to like look a certain way, but also be able to like do the things that your body can do to, you know, with this kind of muscle and stuff. And so I think for sure inside the gym walls, it's just like a kind of different support.
Yeah.
versus, you know, outside, even just like walking at a grocery store or whatever, you know, people will kind of like make comments and stuff. But I don't think it's in any kind of like negative, weird way. I think it's just kind of like, you don't see that very often.
Yeah,
You
don't
don't
know how
see
to-
a lot of
yeah.
women who like want to be muscular. Like, so, yeah.
What about you, Triceratops?
I mean, I agree. I think that in the gym, it's definitely kind of like praised. Like, oh man, look how hard you've worked. That's freaking awesome. And outside of the gym, like every once in a while, somebody will be like, flex. And you're like, oh, this is really awkward. Like, what? Or
Do you
like,
notice more of those comments like are coming towards you as women? Like no one's yelled flex at me across the
isn't
street.
it so strange?
It's like a
Yeah,
weird
it's
gym
weird.
cat call.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
My girlfriend says it to me all the time. She's like, flex. I'm like, yeah,
Oh,
girl.
that's what's up. You're like, oh,
For
you wanna play a game
you?
of horseshoes? You want to play? Huh? All right. What about you?
Well, I guess like the one time recently I was buying a coffee and the barista like I think my hands were all calloused and like had a rip in my hand and she's
That's
like,
what's up.
"Do you work like are you a rower? Are you like weightlifter? Like what do you do? Like why are your hands like that?" I'm like, I lift weights, and she thought it was just super badass. Like
That's
I've
cool.
always gotten like really positive feedback, I guess, from like especially from other females.
Yeah.
Because yeah, there's a certain amount of like how hard it is to go put in the work and
Yeah, you don't accidentally get there. So you know there's work and effort put behind that.
absolutely.
But I can't even imagine just the dumb shit y'all hear just from like pure like I don't know how to handle this. There's muscles.
When someone,
Flex.
when someone yelled flex to you across the street, did you say you're
Oh no,
small?"
this isn't like from across the street. But,
Oh.
you know, it
was in my face.
It happens sometimes when I'm around like friends who are like not as
Yeah.
involved in the gym or something. They'll like randomly like I don't know. It's strange, but
Oh gosh. Just in general, I'll say that. Like I think people who are kind of in your life but not in this realm of your life make the most awkward comments. Or they always say like, "Oh, I've been meaning to get to the gym." I'm like, "Wasn't asking." Like, "You're safe, man. We're just here in the same space. You don't owe me anything." But yes, you're right. You probably should get back to the gym. All right. Well, we're probably near our time. I would love to have this be like part 1 of Infinity. So thank you
Yeah.
all for taking the time on a Sunday to come in here and talk about this. Hopefully, if you're listening, this sparks some thoughts and just questions. Please flood not just me, but like all of us, whoever you're most comfortable talking with. We'll always kind of keep it anonymous if you want, and we'd love to just keep chatting about it. So thank you, ladies, for coming in. Y'all crushed it. Fitness is neat. Y'all are neat.
Be nice to your coaches,
Yeah.
male or female.
Just be nice.
Just be a cool person.
yeah,
be a cool
Yeah.
show up
person.
on time and be cool.
Yeah. On time and
basics.
be cool. Yeah. It's not that hard, right? Simple things. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Aiden.
And that's it. Adios.
Bye.
Bye.
Toodles.